everybody. We've got another awesome episode lined up for you today. I was personally just taken aback by this episode. I am recording the bio for our guest speaker after I've already recorded the episode with him, and I really just have to say, you guys are going to love this one. His story is fascinating and it's inspiring and it's heartbreaking. And there's so many great nuggets of wisdom in here. So I am really happy that he was able to come on the show. And I am so excited that he is able to share his word and that we were able to record together and hopefully even just get the message out to one person when it comes to prison reform and drug addiction, that things desperately need to change. So I will introduce him. So our guest speaker today for episode 11 is Michael DeLeon. He is a successfully acclimated ex-offender who, after nearly 8 years of drug addiction and gang involvement, spent 12 years in state prison and halfway houses for a gang-related homicide. Michael pled guilty in a very emotional and complicated case involving the murder of his own mother by people tasked to kill him. Since Michael's release from prison, he has earned 3 associate's degrees, a bachelorette degree in business management with a minor in criminal justice, and a CADC educational certificate. Michael is now in the process of obtaining his tobacco specialist certification from the University of Kentucky School of Nursing, his master's degree in social work at Liberty University School of Social Work, as well as pursuing his LCADC. Michael DeLeon is on a mission to educate the youth to stay on the right path when it comes to serious life issues, especially drugs. He has become the #1 booked school presenter in the country. Michael has spoken to more than 7 million students and young adults in more than 6,000 schools and facilities. As a published author and international motivational speaker and educator, Michael has delivered evidence-based student programs in all 50 states and numerous other countries. Michael lives by the mantra, "I don't want to help one kid, I want to help them all." Hey, Mike, thanks for being here with us. How are you today?
Good. How you doing today?
Good. Would you be able to just start us off by telling us a little bit more about, you're the founder of Steered Straight, but how did you come up with the idea? What is the work that you guys do? Give me all the details.
Sure. Well, I started in 2007. I founded Steered Straight after spending 12 years in prison. Basically, at this point in my life, I have 45 years of personal experience, life and lived experience with addiction, suicide, alcoholism. So getting addicted at the age of 11, and now I'm unfortunately 56 years of age. So 45 years of personal experience with addiction, being addicted, suffering from incarceration, 12 years in prison, being in recovery, and now working with addicts and people in recovery 365 days a year. It's a mission. So in 2007, I got out of prison and I founded Steered Straight. While I was incarcerated, I was involved in the Scared Straight program, and everybody remembers Scared Straight. It's still in existence today to an extent.
Oh, I didn't know it still existed. I thought that they stopped that.
Yeah, in probably 40 prisons around the country, they have a Scared Straight type program. They call it all sorts of different names. But many people's theory is that it works, that you can bring kids who are at risk or on the wrong path into jail and prison and scare them, right? We're going to scare kids straight. Well, I can prove to you it doesn't work. I can prove to you negative reinforcement doesn't work. But just on the Scared Straight phenomenon, the theory that Scared Straight will scare a kid, they studied Scared Straight for 25 years. And 86% of the kids who came into Scared Straight were incarcerated as an adult, 86%. So that shows you it doesn't work, right? The kids who were supposed to have been scared straight so they don't end up in prison ended up in prison. And so I got involved in the Scared Straight program, and I didn't like it. I did it, but I didn't like it. I didn't like the negative reinforcement. I didn't like scaring the kids and threatening them and cursing at them and spitting in their face. I didn't like it. But at the end of the Scared Straight session, you got one-on-one with the kid. You got about 30 minutes to talk with the kid one-on-one. And I literally lived for that half an hour, because then I could talk to a kid and I could pour my heart out and I tell him how I ended up in prison, what happened in my life that I didn't have a chance to share with him. And I could, share the hope with him, and I could, not scare him, but just steer him, It came to me sitting in a cafeteria in the prison one day. I told the kid, man, I'm not going to scare you. I'm trying to steer you, right? And then it just stuck, steered straight. So when I got out of prison, I said, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to steer kids towards a positive, healthy lifestyle. I want to steer kids towards making positive, healthy choices and decisions. And I started learning about rational emotive behavioral therapy and consequential thinking. I started reading all about CBT and REBT, and I became an Ellis Institute degreed person. I came out of prison. I got 7 college degrees, wrote books. I became a documentary filmmaker. I have 4 award-winning films. I have 2 more films that are in post-production right now, all in some way, shape, and form having to do with addiction and recovery. So it's my life mission. I work 7 days a week at it. We're dealing with people. My biggest mission is prevention. I listen to people often say that the war on drugs didn't work. And it makes me laugh, now. I say, what do you mean the war on drugs? And they say, the war on drugs. We never had a war on drugs. We never, ever had a war on drugs. The war on drugs was a war on drug addicts. That's what the war was, right?
Yep.
We went to war with addiction, but we didn't. We went to war with addicts, and we went to war with minorities, and we went to war with, the poor. That's what we went to war with. We built a prison industrial complex on the backs of minorities, the poor, and the addicted, right? That's what we did. So we didn't have a war on drugs. We had a war on drug addicts. And we built a prison industrial complex on the backs of those families and communities. That's what we did, right? So I want a new war. I want a war on addiction. That's what the war needs to be, on addiction. And we need to come together, stop working in silos. We need to sit down and figure out what all our shared goals are. And we need to speak up against the people who are misinformed and uninformed about, safe injection sites, for instance. There's people that want safe places. They're trying to put one in Philly, but I know of in New York. People believe that we can take heroin addicts and save their lives if we just give them safe places to shoot their heroin. It's asinine, right? So, but I don't just disagree or render an opinion. I do it with life experience, lived experience, and proof. So, there's certain parts of harm reduction that make sense that we need to do. Clean needles, safe and very, very rigid. Suboxone and Vivitrol incentive out for doctors making tons of money on it. We don't need to have, people on these, chemicals and these drugs, prescription drugs for 7 and 10 years. That's not recovery,
Yep.
We need to help people deal with their underlying issues. If you go from heroin to Vivitrol, heroin to Suboxone, heroin to methadone, fine. But if you're not dealing with your trauma, your childhood sexual abuse and physical abuse, your adverse childhood experiences, your depression and anxiety, and all you're doing is switching one drug for another. They're on chemicals, medication-assisted treatment to in those early stages of recovery. Yeah, that's recovery, absolutely. But if you're on methadone for 7 years and you've never found yoga and music and different things to, balance your life, you're not in recovery. Recovery is a part of life. It's not life, right? So we've got to be honest about these things. We've got to speak out, not just when it's politically correct, but we got to speak out when it's not politically correct. We got to tell the truth, because I never forget this past year in 2019 how overdose numbers were down. We're on the right path. We've had a 5% reduction in overdose death. And I looked around at people and I'm like, seriously, you're cheering about a 5% reduction in overdose death? And they're like, well, at least it hasn't gone up. And I was like, no, you're wrong. It has gone up. The numbers are wrong. But let's say I'm wrong and you're right. We did have a 5% reduction in overdose death. This is a blip on a radar. The only reason we had a decrease in reported overdose death in this country is because China interrupted the supply of fentanyl into our country. President Trump got President Xi of China to stop the fentanyl flow into our country. What the Chinese cartels, the South American cartels, the Central American cartels did was it took them 6 to 8 months to reroute those fentanyl flows, and they did that, and now we've got a surge in fentanyl overdose death in our country. So 2019 is going to be drastically increased. 2020, we will have over 100,000 overdoses because of COVID, because of the lockdowns, because of unemployment, because of fear, anxiety, depression, because we let alcohol become an essential business, because we emptied the county jails and people who are close to release of state prisons. We blanket released people because of COVID, and we didn't prepare people. So domestic violence is up, child abuse is up, sexual abuse is up, human trafficking is up, suicide is up, overdose is up, crude death is up, despair death is up. It's a big problem. We're not addressing what's going on. And then we're in the middle of this divisive election, so nobody wants to talk about anything else except this stupid political bullcrap. And we've got people, so not to rant and rave, but this is my life 24/7. I hate to sleep. I wish I didn't have to sleep. It would be 24/7 action. But I'm tired of losing kids. I'm tired of losing people. I'm tired of burying people. I'm tired of seeing parents bury their kids, kids bury their siblings. I'm tired of seeing kids burying their parents. I'm tired of it, right? I'm tired of it. So we got to fight harder.
Yeah. I mean, God, there's so much gold in everything that just came out of your mouth. I mean, even this idea, right, that I've never heard it put this way before, but I got chills when you said it, which is we never had a war on drugs. We had a war on drug addicts. And I don't think anything could be more true. I mean, that statement right there in itself is just mind-blowing. And I agree with you. I think we need to kick the stigma to the curb, and we need to stop talking about everything but drugs.
Right.
I just know somebody recently who died of a fentanyl that they thought that they were just getting regular weed. It was laced with fentanyl, and he just graduated high school, and now he's dead. And it's just, I mean, overdoses it's one of the top killers, right? In the US.
Yeah, well, under 50, it's the number one cause. So, drugs, Yep. Drug overdose and alcohol poisoning is the number 4 cause of death for 15 to 24. So it depends on who you're talking about, but overall, it's really, really monstrous. I mean, your number 1 cause of death in America is heart disease, right? Number 1. Number 2 is cancer, and number 3 is respiratory disease. And those 3 causes of death are 80% caused by cigarettes, 80%. So, obesity is a monstrous thing. Preventable death, I call it crude death, but crude death from drugs and alcohol. Every suicide is a drug and alcohol cause. Every homicide is a drug and alcohol cause. I was in Florida with the drug czar, Jim Carroll, the U.S. drug czar, the director of the Office of National Drug Control Policy. I was just in Florida with him this week on a big panel, and the gentleman asked him, what percentage of people are in a prison for drugs, right? And he's a phenomenal man. He really is. I think he's the best drug czar we've had in the last 5 drug czars. Since Bill Bennett, he's the best drug czar we've had since Bill Bennett. But His response was 25% of prisoners and inmates in prison are there for drugs. And so it came around the table to me, and they asked me a question, and I addressed it. And I said, the gentleman who asked what percentage of people who are in prison are there for drugs, the drug czar said 25%. And that's untrue. It's 90%. And I'll tell you the difference. What he's talking about are people who are in jail and in prison for a drug charge. So possession of drugs,
right,
high on drugs, and they got caught with drugs, dealing drugs, they're there for drugs. That's 25%. That's true. But 90% of people who are in prison and jail are there because of the drug problem. They committed a robbery to get money for drugs. They committed a shooting because they robbed a drug dealer. They crashed their car and killed 3 people because they were drunk. They went into a house and, robbed someone and raped someone because they were high on drugs. They stabbed someone because they were in a meth delusion, right? 90% of everyone in prison and jail are there because of addiction, because of drugs, right? That's the reality, and we're not addressing it. We're not addressing 90% of our prison population's drug problem. We're not addressing it, right? We're just locking them up. There's 3 reasons why you lock people up. Number 1, punishment, right? And that's a given. We're punishing people. That's what's happening. We've built this prison industrial complex to punish people. Number 2 is a deterrent to other people. And that's no longer at all in play whatsoever, because no one thinks about, well, I could go to prison for this because they're on drugs and they're struggling with addiction. Deterrence is irrelevant. Right? And then a deterrent to the person to not do it again, right? Going to jail is not a deterrent to most people. Culturally, it's become a way of life. Culturally, for people of color, it's just become part of doing business. A drug dealer gets arrested, goes to jail for a year, gets out, goes back to drug dealing the day he gets out of prison, right? Was it a deterrent? No, we didn't help him. And I'm not trying to be some bleeding heart liberal. I'm not a bleeding heart liberal, but it's a folly if you think we're keeping society safe by locking people up and not changing them and rehabilitating them and giving them incentive to change their life. We got to change the prison system. And I'll tell you, because I've been in jails and prisons in 17 different countries, filming, documentary filmmaking since I've been out of prison. We have the best prison system in the world. We've got the best criminal justice system in the world. And there's massive problems with it that we could fix and make it better. So we've got to make it better, not for just the men and women who are incarcerated, because think about something. 90% of every woman in prison and 80% of every man in prison be affected by that incarceration. The kids, right? So we can lock these people up. We can, throw away the key and we can feel better about ourselves, but we're not helping society, and we're not helping children, and we're not helping that person stay out of prison. The door revolves like this. We got to stop the revolving door. So we have to change the war on drugs, which wasn't a war on drugs. We've got to change our prison system, and we've got to change the way we deal with addiction in our country. I love what you said about stigma. But think about this when you think about stigma, because stigma, we're swinging the pendulum to the other side, and we can't do that. We have to address stigma, but people will tell you that stigma prevents addicts from going to get help. And I don't know too many people that has put more people into treatment than me and my wife. 7,000, we stopped counting. I've never run into a person ever who didn't go get help because of stigma. Stigma doesn't prevent people from getting help. Stigma might continue to support your irrational belief that you want to go escape your pain, okay? You're not going to ask for help because you're ashamed of yourself. That's not stigma, okay? That's shame. We've got to deal with the shame. But by swinging the stigma pendulum so far the other way, we're making it okay to be an addict. We're making it okay to shoot drugs on the side of the street. We're making it okay. We want to make addicts feel good about themselves. These guys are living on the street in gutters. That's not okay. We've got to stop allowing that to be okay. We can't say the stigma of addiction has to be addressed and not address the stigma of being an addict, okay, the stigma of living life that way. It's not okay for girls to perform oral sex on the streets for $5 a pop so they can go get their heroin and make them feel good about themselves. And that's immoral. And we're doing that girl a real disservice. And what we're really doing is prolonging, okay, all we're doing is postponing her overdose. We've got to be realistic, and we got to stop being politically correct about addiction. The disease of addiction is real. It's okay. I'm okay calling it a disease, but we cannot tell addicts it's a disease without a cure, okay? Because as long as we do that, as the addict in me, you told me there's no cure for this thing, so okay, then I'm okay just living in my disease of addiction. And then every time I relapse, and I've heard it 10,000 times, well, I have a disease. No, that's an excuse. We got to stop giving addicts excuses to continue to go use, because we're doing them a disservice, and we're endangering them, and we're enabling them to kill themselves. We would not let a suicidal person walk around with a gun and just take the ammunition away from them, because they're going to go find the ammunition and they're going to put that gun to their head. Okay, we just can't do it. We wouldn't do it for suicidal ideation, and so we can't do it for addiction, because it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's an amazing point. And I guess as I'm hearing you speak, one of the things that I'm thinking is, how did you get to this point? Like, how did you go from the throes of addiction to knowing what you know now? And like, one of the things you also touched on earlier is that we have to address the trauma that's behind addiction. And, as a trauma therapist and as somebody who is a trauma survivor of sexual abuse, I agree wholeheartedly that that's what we need to be treating. But how did you get there for yourself?
70% of males in prison were sexually abused as a child, 7 out of 10. And you can sit down and interview 1,000 inmates, you'll get maybe half of them to tell you the story. Half still will not address it. They won't deal with it. I didn't deal with it for a very long time. I didn't deal with my sexual abuse until I was 45 years of age. And I was sexually abused by a pedophile priest out of the Newark diocese in northern New Jersey. It's Sparta, New Jersey, affluent, beautiful Lake Mohawk, New Jersey, Our Lady of the Lake Catholic Church, where the Monsignor coddled and enabled those pedophile priests in that parish for years and years and years. I was one of 7 boys in my group that were molested and sodomized by this pedophile priest. And I speak openly about it now. But 10, 11, and 12 years of age. And I never uttered those words until I was 45 years of age. 70% of male inmates were sexually abused as a kid, and 90% of female inmates were sexually abused as a kid, okay? And we're not dealing with that sexual trauma. Why? It boggles my mind. It absolutely boggles my mind. Do you know how many, retired therapists like you are retired sitting around? We could give them a supporting supplement stipend to their Social Security or to their pensions to go into prisons all across the country. We will cut our prison population by a quarter if we did that, okay?
Oh, yeah, you're damn right.
This much money. We would save the money tenfold by lowering our prison population.
Absolutely.
Right. But that's not a popular thing for Republicans to do. That's not a popular thing for Democrats to do. We're not going to do it. I'm telling you, you want to cut our prison population? That's what we do. So I dealt with my sexual abuse. I dealt with my physical abuse. I was hung by 2 uncles. I was beat. My right eye socket was smashed by my uncle when I was 14 years of age. I never dealt with that physical abuse and that trauma as a kid. All it did was toughen me up. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm a man. If I talk about it, it makes me less of a man. I bought into that twisted theory at 17 years of age. My mother didn't know about it. My adults in my life didn't know about it. 3 marriages I went through before I found the woman I'm married to now. 3 marriages. This is my 4th marriage. And listen, I'm the worst husband in the world. The worst husband in the world. My wife is a saint. She doesn't deserve the misery I give her as a husband. Now, I'm almost okay. She said she's almost done raising me, right? But She's been married 28 years. So how did I get to this point? I found my purpose. I believe the answer to addiction, to alcoholism, to suicidal ideation, to anxiety, to depression is purpose. Purpose, purpose, purpose. It's the most important thing in anyone's life. And if you find passion for that purpose, now there is life. Purpose is the reason that we journey, and passion is the fire that lights the way. And if you find your purpose, great. If you find passion for your purpose, and you found the meaning of life right there. And you'll never, ever, ever seek a solution in a drug or I tell people all the time, drugs are chemicals. Alcohol is a chemical. And there's no such thing as a chemical solution to a spiritual problem. You got to deal with that spiritual problem. That's what you have to deal with. How you do that? Music, yoga, meditation, laughter, comedy. I just had a friend of mine commit suicide last week. He was 27 years of age. I've been dealing with his depression and his anxiety for years. He just killed himself last week. He hung himself. His wife found him in his garage, right? And me and him talked about Robin Williams ever since Robin Williams died, right? And Robin Williams was on 24 different psychological drugs, antidepressants, anti-anxiety drugs, prescription stimulants. Robin Williams was on 24 prescription medication, okay, off and on. I don't know any person in the world more loved than that man. You know what I mean? Outside of Jesus Christ, right?
Yep.
But if you think about it, I don't care what actor, what singer, what comedian, I don't know anybody. I never met anybody in my life that didn't like Robin Williams. You know what I mean? Like,
no,
you might not have liked Aladdin,
right.
Okay? You might not have liked Mrs. Doubtfire. You might have thought Mork and Mindy was a stupid show. Whatever, right? But you love that man. Robin Williams was the most loved, to me, my opinion, the most loved man on the planet. But he didn't love himself. He didn't love himself. He had such self-loathing and self-hatred, right? And instead of dealing with that self-loathing and self-hatred, they shoveled psychotropics down his throat. And he hung himself, right? And so my friend and I, Terrence is my friend's name, we talked about him all the time. Chester Bennington, right? How do these kids die? How do these kids take their lives? The lead singer of Linkin Park, one of the most beloved musicians on the planet. The lead singer of Soundgarden, Chris Cornell. How Kurt Cobain. How do these people do this, right? You're so loved. You're so loved, right? How do you, Michael Jackson, Tom Petty, Amy Winehouse. And then we sit here for a week and we're like, oh, it's such a tragedy. Let's celebrate them. Let's play their music for a week. Let's take all their memorabilia and stick it on eBay for a jacked up price, right? We're not learning our lesson. And I'm telling you, 2020 is the year we're going to look back on to see the problem jump fivefold. This problem is going to jump fivefold. This COVID thing is a joke, man. It's a joke. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm not saying coronavirus isn't real. COVID-19 is not real. It's real. It's real. But
but the real problem
is going to be collateral damage, 5 to 10-fold, and no one's even paying attention. So, I found my purpose. To get back to your question, I found my purpose, and then I found passion for my purpose. And that's what I try to share and show to people, because I have passion for this. Like, my wife says, you never want to invite Michael to your Christmas party, ever. Don't invite me over, because I'll bring the whole mood of the party down. Like, I'll be talking about drugs and addiction and suicide and overdose. And after 5 minutes talking to me, you're like, oh my God, man, that guy, I don't even want to talk to him anymore. But
you're talking about the shit that needs to be talked about. Like, this is the stuff that nobody wants to talk about. And you're so right. And this is, I know I was saying this to you before we started recording, but like, the clients that I'm seeing right now and the patients that I have, like, their use of substances went from, over the last 6 months, I could hit the dab pen every once in a while, to, oh my God, I can't stop. I had a 14-year-old sitting in my office yesterday going, I can't stop. She's flunking out of school. She's sleeping until 3 p.m. And she's like, I don't know how I got here. And that is the ripple effect of this friggin' pandemic.
Yep. So
And
CDC,
right, we're not even paying attention to it.
CDC just released a report, right? And they have found 13% of respondents. Okay, so anytime CDC puts out a report, you can always double it. Always double it. Whatever the CDC says, self-reporting, automatically double. But let me just give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they're right. They just said 13% of Americans either started or increased their substance abuse to cope with pandemic-related stress, emotions, and isolation. Do you know what 13% of America is? That's 43 million people. 43 million people have increased or started getting high to deal with COVID. Hello? 40. No one's talking about it. Yeah, we want to talk about, Biden's, it's nuts. It's nuts. When I watch CNN or MSNBC or Fox News, I want to kill myself. No, I want to I want to take a bath afterward. Right? But anyway, if you look on the side of the screen, right? The side of the screen, how many COVID deaths we had? How many COVID cases do we have? If on the left side of the screen we put suicides and overdoses, I wonder if people would wake up, right? I wonder if people would wake up. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if they'd wake up or not. I want to believe they would, but I don't know.
But it just seems like there's intentionally such a blind eye turned to it, and I guess one of the questions I have for you is, how do you talk to the people? Because now, as you said, right, at least 43 million, right? 13%, that's only what's reported. And you always double it because, right, what about all the numbers out there that aren't being reported? So, all right, we'll say on best case scenario, 43 million people have an increase in substance abuse since the onset of the pandemic. I know I've personally seen an increase in about 90% of the people in my practice. What do you say to people? And I know this is part of what you do through Steered Straight is you go to schools and you speak. What do you say to the kids? And I'm finding it's not just the kids right now, but it's also the adults who sit there and go, but it's just vaping. None of this stuff is harming me. Look, it's the flavor of Long Island iced tea. It tastes really good. What do you say to that?
Well, I mean, if I'm in a school and I'm doing a 90-minute session, I have an hour and a half to share my story, but to talk about vaping, because my first drug was nicotine, cigarettes. First drug and it's the number one killer in the world. Cigarettes is the number one killer in the world, right? Cigarettes aren't addictive. Nicotine is addictive. Nicotine is in cigarettes. That's what makes cigarettes addictive. Nicotine. My first drug was nicotine. 90% of every addict in this world use nicotine before the age of 18. And I can tell you 90% of every relapse in America is a smoker or a vapor. 90%, 90%. So some kid the other day said, well, I bet you 90% of every relapse, drinks milk too. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, that dairy to drug gateway, that's really a thing. So sometimes people will just argue, and confirmation bias is a real sickness where no information and evidence presented will change your irrational belief, right? So nicotine is the most addictive drug on earth, and the chemicals in these vaping and these Long Island iced tea flavors changes structure when it enters your body. And these kids have no idea what they're doing to their developing respiratory system. Respiratory disease is the third biggest killer in America. Okay, over 300,000 Americans die from respiratory disease every single year. That's the number 6 killer for kids 15 to 24. So how do these kids get COPD, chronic lower respiratory disease? How are 24-year-old kids dying from emphysema and they've never smoked? I can tell you, it's vaping. We're going to see the truth about vaping. It's going to take 7 to 10 years for all the data to really come out. But vaping is going to kill this entire generation. I believe respiratory disease will become the number 1 cause of death in America because our 10 to 24-year-old kids are ingesting nicotine and THC. The number 1 way to get high on marijuana is vaping. THC.
Yep.
Yep. So a lot of these kids say, "Oh no,
Because
I
it's
don't vape
so
the
heavily
THC."
concentrated.
Concentrates, right?
Yep.
The kids say, "Oh no, I'm not vaping THC. I'm just vaping nicotine." I'm like, "Yeah, really? Where are you getting your pods?" "Oh, I order them online." "Oh, okay, okay. I'm sure there's no
Yeah.
THC in there." They have no
Right.
idea. So if I'm in a school, I have a longer session. If I'm with parents, I have a longer session. If schools or parents or groups of therapists or counselors want a lesson, I have a 1 hour video that I've done. I can send it to anybody. We have information on our website. I helped the Partnership for Drug-Free New Jersey write a 16-page vaping guide. It's on my website called the No Vape Zone. So I try to give people information, but information is just information. What do you do with that information? If you don't take it to heart, then, it's not going to help you. And if you don't believe it and have an open mind, it's not going to help you either.
Right. And honestly, one of the biggest battles that I struggle with kids is that they have this idea that they are invincible and infallible. So they have this, well, that's not going to be me. Like, all I do is vape. All it is THC and nicotine. I'm not going to get
Yeah.
there. It's not a gateway drug.
Listen, there's so many studies to show you what THC does to the male anatomy over time. So I say to kids, hey, it might not develop erectile dysfunction in your 20s and 30s, but when you meet that girl, you fall in love, she wants to get married, and you get married, and you want to start a family, and it's just not working out. And you and Boo go off to the infertility clinic, right? And the doctor sends you for a little test. Let me tell you about that test. First of all, it's pretty interesting how you take that test, because modern science has never found a different way to develop this test to find out if you're sterile or not, right? So you go in your little room with your VCR and your VHS tapes, and then you come out with your little sample. Well, the doctor's going to send that little sample off to the lab, and then you and your new wife are going to sit there at his desk, and he's going to explain the bad news to you. And you're going to look over at your wife, and, what is she going to say? Now she realizes the man she fell in love with, the man she married, can't have children because you're sterile at 27. Because you vaped THC all through your teen years thinking it was going to be no big deal. Gee, nobody told you what was going to happen to your sperm over time. THC is a toxin on the male anatomy and the female anatomy too. But I always try to get a little bit further with males. I don't know if you want to be chewing Levitra and Cialis in your 30s, but it's a possibility, so why take the chance? Why take the chance? It's really, really, really a problem. And it's not smoking. The thing about it is my generation has convinced these kids that marijuana is no big deal. Oh, I smoked when I was a kid. I was at Woodstock, for crying out loud. Okay,
oh my God, but it's so different.
It's not the same stuff. You know that.
It's not the same. Yeah, it's so much more heavily concentrated. It is absolutely not the same. And there's so much other shit in there. It's just, it's not the same. It is not the same.
I was watching the news the other day. A lot of Americans know what's going on with Monsanto, right? And Roundup, called non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, right? Roundup is a toxin, is a poison. There's chemicals in Roundup that has absolutely killed people, right? And there's all these lawsuits going on. There's commercials on TV. If you got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or a loved one got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from Roundup, call this number because he might be entitled to financial compensation. So I'm watching the news the other day and I saw that commercial. The very next commercial is a Roundup commercial, talking about how you can buy Roundup and use it in your garden. And I'm like, wait a minute. One commercial is telling you how, call this number if you ever used it. And the next commercial on the same network, on the same TV show, is promoting the product. And I'm thinking, wow, America's really dumb, man. Americans are really dumb. I don't get it. The media is lying to us. Monsanto is lying to us. It's crazy. We just hope that, you don't get non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and sue us. Look at the opioid lawsuits. Look at Zantac lawsuits. Look at Hair Club, the hair color for men. They found the rhytamine poison in it. And so if you used, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a hair color for men. And they found that, it's a poison. And then they came in and said, oh, no, it's not. It's okay. It's just a black hair color. The blonde and the brown hair color is okay. What? I didn't read that in the report. It said all of your products contain this stuff. And I go
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
Walmart and I look at the back of the box, and that is in the brown and in the blonde and and they're still selling the black. It's crazy. It's crazy. So
Yep.
we drugs and alcohol is a huge problem. Suicide is a huge problem, but it's just the symptom of the problem. It's not the problem itself. We've got to get to
Yes.
this trauma. We've got to get to these underlying issues, and we've got to help people deal with this in a healthy, positive, and holistic way.
You said it. You said it. I mean, that is the whole goal of this podcast. That is the one thing that I have learned about my life. I, thank God, have never picked up a cigarette, but my addiction was in food. And, it's not until I addressed that trauma beneath that I was able to really be in
Right.
recovery.
Yeah, because
So,
there's process addictions, there's sex addictions, there's things that we fall into,
yeah.
Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins, everybody's familiar with Tony Robbins. He's a motivational speaker. He's an incredible person. He had a TV show about 7 years ago where he was helping people deal with their addictions. And the addiction community, the therapists and the psychotherapists and the treatment centers really attacked him because he was saying addiction is not a disease. That's ridiculous. Addiction is not a disease, right? He got attacked. But anyway, he was so nauseated by the attacks and the backlash that he said, forget this. I don't need to do this crap. I'm going to just keep making my millions of dollars doing what I'm doing. He could have revolutionized addiction, but the people who are making the money on the addiction, treating the addiction, they didn't want any part of that. Oh, we can't tell people addiction is not a disease, that there's choices involved, right? We got to tell them it's something that they can't help. That's absolute bullcrap, right? But anyway, he said something that really, really changed my life. It was about, so it was 7 years ago. So yeah, it was right after 2010. I was filming my first film, my first documentary on addiction. I was interviewing all these kids, and I was watching his interview on Larry King, and he had one of his success stories there on the show with him. And Tony Robbins said, if you want to deal with an addiction, okay, the only way you deal with an addiction is if you replace it with another addiction. If you take drugs out of the person's life, if you don't replace the drugs with something else, you have a void there that the person, the addict, doesn't know how to fill. And I don't want to fill it, okay, with another negative thing. You don't take heroin away and replace it with weed. You don't take heroin away and replace it with Suboxone and methadone. What's that void? Okay, spiritual principles, music, healthy relationships, meetings, walking, exercise, right? We've got to deal with the remnants of the drugs because no matter what, there's remnants of those drugs in our fat cells, in our bodies that we're going to deal with. I just lost a kid about 3 weeks ago. This kid he just had a 1 year anniversary. He was clean 1 year, but he went back into the gym. You should have seen this kid. He was a monster, shoulders bigger than my head. Like, he went back into the gym, back into working out. He replaced his drug addiction with working out, right? But there was so many, he told me all the time, he would have these cravings that were so powerful. He didn't know what to do. He'd call me a couple of times over the last few months in the middle of the night telling me he had such incredible cravings. And I tried to tell him every single time he had these incredible cravings was when he left the gym. And I said, that's because your fat cells are releasing these remnants of drugs that are embedded in your fat cells. You're working out, you're sweating, you're ripping your muscles, your fat cells, you're dropping weight. The little soluble particles and molecules of drugs, of amphetamines, of heroin are in your body still. You detox in 5 days, you don't detox your body. There's ways you have to detox your body. It takes years sometimes, but you're having these cravings because literally drugs are in your body and you feel these cravings. And I said, do you only feel them when you're leaving the gym? He says, man, ironically, yeah, man, that's when they're strongest. That's right. That's what you have to do. You have to replace things. You've got to go. I told them about all these things to go on, holistic things, turmeric, ginger, zinc, all these amino acids, right? You've got to get this stuff into your body. Sodium, you've got to put sodium in your body, right? And so anyway, He just gave into a craving and went got heroin. One bag of heroin. When he's going to take the edge off, he sniffed one bag of heroin. It was straight fentanyl, and he died like 3 weeks ago. We've got to address these underlying issues. We've got to address these underlying issues. And like I said earlier, there's no such thing as a chemical solution to a spiritual problem. We can only handle spiritual problems, spiritual solutions. So I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about church and the Bible. Those are all great things, but they're part of a new life. And I tell people all the time, do I feel like getting high? Sometimes. Do I feel like just quitting and getting a couple of days ago, I did not want to get out of bed. My alarm went off. It wasn't being tired. I had 2 overdoses and a suicide that evening before I went to bed. And I got up just as nauseous as I went to sleep, right? I didn't want to get out of bed. I wanted to hit snooze. I wanted to put the covers over my head. I wanted to say, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to stay in bed all day. Okay, what's that going to accomplish? What's that going to accomplish? It's going to give me the same, misery that drugs gave me. Because at the end of the day, I stayed in bed all day. I accomplished nothing. All the problems that are going to develop during the day are still going to be there. I still have to deal with them, So I got my lazy, pitiful butt out of bed. I ended my feeling sorry for myself. I went and brushed my teeth, got in the shower, got out of the shower, got dressed, and off I went, right? So I had a pity. I did hit snooze for 5 minutes, so I had a pity party for 5 minutes. Okay. treat your problems in life like your snooze. Give it 5 minutes. Go take a breath. Go for a walk.
Yeah.
Make a phone call. Call somebody you haven't talked to. I had something happen a couple of days ago. I was driving. I was so upset. I called my father, and my father was like, "Oh, I'm so glad you called. I wanted to talk to you about something." So not only did I handle my little, 5 minutes of stress, I called my father at a moment. He wanted to talk to me about something. So I helped him, which now I'm helped 2 times. You know what I mean? I dealt with my anxiety, and I feel good about helping the most important man in my world, my father. So many of us are inundated with all this fake book stuff. That's what I call Facebook, fake book, right? And Twitter and Instagram. And we sit there I know a girl sits there for hours watching TikTok videos. Like, okay, I got 4,000 fake book friends. No, you don't. Okay. You got 4 fake people on a social media platform that couldn't give a rat's ass about you if they were in the same room with you. Develop your core group of people, Maybe it's 3 people. Maybe it's 10 people. Find someone. I saw a girl on Facebook the other day. She was talking about how miserable she was and how no one appreciates her. So I just messaged her. I feel like you do sometimes, and you know what? I'm adding you to my prayer list, which I did. I'm thinking about you and sending positive vibes your way. And all of that to you right now might mean nothing. But I care about you. You have a purpose in your life. You're noticed. I noticed. And guess what? Someone does care about you. It's me. And if you'd ever like to write about it, I'd love you to help me with my website because I got these blogs. And I'm looking for people to write positive things so other people can share them, So she did. She shared a thing. We put it on when she messaged me back. I feel so much better about writing that. Thank you so much. And she's on a list that I have, which is about 160 people long. She's on a list that I'm going to text in as much as I can every couple of weeks or every other week. I'm going to text, "Hey, how you doing?" Sometimes I sit when I'm waiting on a plane, right? I'll go down my face, and I encourage people to do this. I'm nobody special. Trust me when I tell you. I didn't even come up with this. A good, smart woman, because women are smarter than men, a good, smart woman told me to do this, right? I go down, I don't ever erase my Facebook messages. Look, there's like 60,000 of them, right? So I just go down. I go like this, and I find a Facebook message from, here's one, July 26th. I haven't messaged that lady since July 26th. So I go back and see what we were talking about. And then I go like this, thinking about you today. Hope you're doing well. Do you know what that might do to that person? I might do, listen, this is how the Holy Spirit works. I might do that at a moment that person's sitting in their car crying over something that's going on in their life. And that simple text, I was going to call it a stupid text, it's not. That simple text might be the difference of that person driving into a brick wall or just feeling a little bit more hopeless. It's not me. I'm nothing special. Look at this face. I'm nothing special, but I'm going to care about that person for a second. I'm waiting on a plane, and instead of watching a stupid TikTok video or a YouTube video, instead of doing something meaningless, I'm gonna do something meaningful. And do you know that's how I get through my days? By reaching out to people who aren't thinking about me with a simple 3-second text, thinking about you, hope you're doing.
Yeah.
That's it, So anyway, that's how I get through my days.
I have to say, as you're saying that, it's making me recall, I think, quite a few moments where, I know people in my life who adopt that same motto as you, which is like, you know what, just reach out. All you need to do is say, thinking of you. There have been many times when, I've definitely battled suicidal ideations and suicidal thoughts pretty much my whole life. And there have been many times when I've been sitting in my car, sobbing, thinking about just ending my life. And then I get that message that comes through. That's, I have a friend, Liz, if you're listening, hey, Liz. But my friend Liz will always text me at the time when I need it. When I'm sitting in my car going, I'm going to end my life, I get that text and she's like, hi, honey, praying for you, thinking of you. And I'm like, oh, like,
yep.
It's incredible what one simple text can do instead of what, a TikTok video.
Listen,
so
I don't know Alyssa Scolari, but now I do. You're a new friend in my life and we're going to keep connected. And one day I'm going to help you do something. One day you're going to help me do something. You have a purpose in your life. You have a purpose and you obviously have passion for your purpose. Okay. You were created with value and purpose. Okay. You're a woman, so you're much better off because you're a girl, because you're smarter than guys. And you have a purpose in your life and people need you. Okay. So you're not going to end your life. You're not going to end your life ever. You have too much to live for and people need you in their life. And so you're going to keep going and we're going to help people and we're going to get through this. And we got to change. I wish we could all, if everyone in America would just turn off Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC, just turn them off. Don't ever watch them again. And you got to watch the local news to see what's going on in your community. But you could DVR it and then fast forward through the garbage, right? Watch the weather and
bypass the
whatever.
crap. Yeah.
I just wish we would all realize we are not a racist, systemically racist country. Okay, if we were such a bad country, we wouldn't have people, risking their lives to come here. We're the greatest country in the world. We need to be better. But I'm not going to try to solve all those problems. All I'm trying to solve is addiction and suicide. It's weaved together. That's all I'm trying to solve, addiction and suicide. I got to solve it with prevention. That's what I'm trying to do. So steeredstraight.org is our website. There's a great 7-page guide on anxiety and stress on there that we wrote. Awesome. It's incredible. It's how to develop your own personal stress management program. It's a 10-step guide in 4 sections. It's incredible. 7 pages. It's free. I have great guide on vaping. I have a book for parents. I have a success curriculum for kids. So all I'm trying to do is help. So please go to steeredstraight.org and share it with your friends.
That's perfect. And for everyone listening out there, I will link that on the Facebook page and it will be in the newsletter and the show notes. So you will have access to it. So you can go check all those good things out. So I thank you so much for coming on and for your passion.
Alyssa Scolari, get out of Jersey, man. Get out of that godforsaken state of New Jersey.
Yeah, I know.
Move to Tennessee.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information on today's discussion and to sign up for the Light After Trauma newsletter, head over to my website at alyssascolari.com. Also be sure to check out my Instagram for additional tips and resources at Alyssa_Scolari_LPC. Thanks again for listening and take good care.